quick disclaimer, guys, there is a part 1 to this. Make sure and go see that video. I'll have links in the description. I'll have links up here. I'll have them pop up now. Make sure and go watch that part 1 to this, because if you don't, this one might not make sense. So I have a part 1 to this Onion Saga. So go check that out and then come back here if you haven't already. So I just wanted to give that insight. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Joy, and if you saw the title of this video, so I'll kind of talk a little bit about it. I feel like this is so much of what YouTubers say, but honestly, like, I'll kind of explain some of it. I really wasn't necessarily looking to make another video. I'll tell you what, like, instead of saying I don't want to do this and that on this channel, like, except for a few things, like, I don't want to fight with people, I don't want to be, negative, I don't want to spread any negativity as much as possible, right? But at the same time, I think I'm going to stop pigeonholing myself, because, I'm realizing the more I'm on this channel, I'm trying different things out. I'm having different thoughts, different feelings about things. And more importantly, I just hope that any videos I do add positive towards a conversation. I mean, even if it's not a good conversation. Also, guys, I am back on the internet. I'm doing financial and stimulus news on another channel. It's called Katie's Insight. So if you want to see me there kind of more regularly, subscribe and hit notifications there. And, comment. Let me know what you think about the videos. I'm trying to help people find stimulus info and doing stimulus news and find stimulus money in your areas. Make sure you hit notifications, because when stimulus news does come out or stimulus programs hit, I want to make sure you guys are some of the first people that can be able to get access to that, because a lot of times the early bird gets the worm and then they run out of funding. So I want to make sure you guys can get in there as quickly as possible. So also, if you like this channel, make sure and subscribe, hit notifications, and like I said, make sure and watch part 1 of this, because if you don't, this probably won't make a lot of sense. And I also have other videos. I did a video on Princess Diana, which I'm really proud of that video. I love that video. I did one on Britney Spears, her mental health. I did one on Trump and aliens, on Trisha Paytas and some of her mental issues. So go check those videos out. Let me know what you think. Links will be in the description in the cards. So I'd love to hear your guys' opinions. Okay, on with it. So now, like I've said, this is kind of a subject that ends up getting really muddied and really dark and heavy. So it's not something I super want to focus on. At the same time, a lot of you seem to like the video from yesterday. If you haven't seen this, go check out part 1 of the Onion series from yesterday. So make sure and go check that out, and this one might not make sense until you see that one. So go see that one. But it's hard, because when I walked away from it, after I posted the video and I saw some comments and talked to some people, I realized I think some of my message might have gotten lost. And it's also hard because, how do you know what the message is? I was trying to basically sum up 3 years of stuff in like 45 minutes or an hour, and it's almost, with this situation, it's almost impossible. I think that's why people have the blanks, the Onion Saga or Onion series or Onion Files or this sort of thing. So I wanted to go a little more into detail about some of the things that I've seen surrounding this subject. Because I think some people walked away going, wait a second, so you're sympathetic towards him and you think that he shouldn't be held accountable or take responsibility. And I thought, that is not the message I was trying to convey. So maybe I should have done it in a few parts, because it's just way too much information to take in all at once. And not to say that you guys are dumb, it's just info overload and I talk quickly, right? And again, it's just trying to sum up a few years of information. So I wanted to kind of do a clarity video just to make sure that what I was saying was on point and the message that I wanted to convey was coming across. But I was thinking about it and I was like, I have other things I could say on this. I don't want to make a ton of videos on this subject. I feel like I've talked about it enough and my points over the years were proven enough, but there are some things I think I would love to kind of give a little more clarity on. I don't want to do this from necessarily attacking anybody or trying to be mean. That's not my goal. But my goal is to give information from where I'm seeing it. I know before it, I kind of had more of an angrier energy, and I was angry about things in my life that I was a woman in my early 30s who was understanding how much the society was stacked against me. And I hate that, because I did a lot of anti-SJW videos and I still stand by some of those things, but then there's a lot that I've really had my eyes open, and I've had to really take a hard look at my life. And it's funny enough, because there's kind of this narrative with the SJW stuff, like, oh, well, if you think that everything is somebody else's fault outside of you, then you're just giving your power away and you're the real bully and you're becoming a victim to the situation. I have a different outlook on it now. my outlook more so now when it comes to a topic like this is like, you have to realize first of all, you have to not be in denial if you've been victimized. You have to confront it and you have to look at it. Take ownership for where you could have done better, because we can all we can all do better in different areas, right? There's something we can learn, obviously, but it doesn't mean you're at fault. But if you don't know you were the victim, you don't even know how to fix the situation, how to get out of it, or even what the situation is. So I have a different perspective on it now. So again, my goal isn't to try to bash or hurt. I think Onion has been through the ringer, and I'm not saying that's his justice necessarily, but I want to talk about a little more about what's happened and where I think things are and where I think things should be. So where do I begin? It's such a big topic. Let's begin with this, because remember, my YouTube career, it was literally about 4 years ago. It was about this time I started going on YouTube and just talking about the subject I saw. I remember watching the Sarah situation unfold as it started, and the Billy situation and Ayala. So when I say I was in it, I mean, I wasn't a part of it, obviously, but I was covering it. So I very much, and I'm not an expert, but I have a ton of information on that I think maybe a lot of people who jumped in this subject later were missing. So, okay, here we go. Here are my thoughts. First of all, I did something I hadn't done in a while. I went the other day to Onision's channel. This is one, he's doing a lot of videos about people who are overweight. Again. And a couple of them that I saw, they weren't even necessarily like, I think he was actually trying to be like inspirational, uplifting with it. But he likes to give all this diet advice. And I'm sitting here going, if you've never actually had any issues with your body or your weight, how do you think that you should be able to give diet advice? And it's just a very entitled male thing for men to like to come at people, especially women, and think that they can just tell them how to be thin. Well, it's worked for me. When and no disrespect, hashtag not all men, but this is a very prevalent thing in society where men don't realize that weight loss, as we know it, is tailored to their bodies, not women's. It's not tailored to chronic illness, allergies, histamines, hormones, thyroid, a myriad of inflammation, a myriad of other things that can come up. So part of me is like, why are you giving weight loss advice when you've never had an issue? And I could hear the argument. The argument could be, well, I've never had an issue because I have a good diet. Well, the diet he has is detrimental for me and could end my life. I know because I tried it. Because what I have to eat red meat. I hate it. I hate it every single day of my life. This is eating half sticks of butter and salt and steak is disgusting, and I hate it. Please believe me, this is not fun for me. However, I understand that diet works for a lot of people, and great. But that diet, you can be a vegetarian, doesn't mean you have a good diet. That can be riddled with sugar and carbohydrates and other things. And I'm not a dietitian, I'm not a doctor, I don't want to get into it, but that was one of the first things I thought I noticed, and I was like, I kind of want to make a video kind of debunking some of this stuff. But again, not in a mean-spirited way, it's just kind of giving other information. But then, a character like Onision, he thrives on any kind of attention. It's weird because there's a lot of YouTubers like that. They'll just want any attention. And I'm not like that. I think there are a lot of people who aren't like that because we have that innate instinct to want to be loved, be connected to people, be a part of humanity, be a part of the whole, because we're social people. And I think some people kind of maybe get dark, or they go so far into themselves with their own negativity that they think that any energy is good energy, right? So I kind of don't want to give this person too much attention. And my channel's super small. I don't really think I would do too much of a dent to somebody at this. And not that I would want to, Before I said I was worried because of what he was doing to his very young audience, and I said that on that situation you have to take somebody's power away, and I'm happy to watch. I'm not happy to see somebody's life hurting. I'm happy that YouTube took steps to protect the audience. That's what I'm happy about. So let me first say this. I think what Onision has done to those young girls is disgusting. I think it is grooming. I have a lot of thought. I even think a lot of these, remember back in the day I covered those videos where he was taking photos of girls, some as young as 12 years old, and disseminating whether or not they look good or they were overweight, or, what he thought of their attractiveness. And it's just like, and that kind of makes me laugh too, because it's like, the ego on somebody that they think that they are the ones that have to tell somebody whether or not they're attractive. Like, I couldn't imagine myself thinking that I was so far above people that I should be the one to disseminate to you whether or not you're attractive. And again, I'm really not trying to put him down. I'm just being honest. I'm trying to be honest with what I'm seeing as much as I can in respect, even when some of these behaviors are disrespectful. And it looks like, from what I've seen, and I've just seen this much and I haven't really gotten the subject, it looks like maybe he's trying to do some changing, and that's great. Let's empower that. But at the same time, I think something we've learned from him is you can't ever tell what's genuine. And literally, I think at one point he changed his channel to call it character because, oh, well, everything I do is character. And it's like, but you can't then put out videos and talk about how honest and real you are, like, because then you're just a liar. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just say, oh, well, I have an alternate, ego or personality, therefore I put everything onto that. Well, you've created that. But here's, I went on the channel and I was looking around, and he's been doing a lot of defending himself. Here's the concern. The concern is I stand by everything I said. I think what he did to those girls was awful. I think he does it with some form of intention and knowing, a lot of it. And he refuses to look at the science of what it is. And when I say the science, and I was so big on this, he loves to use the law as a justifier, as a quantifier, right? So for him, it's, well, what I did was not against the law. Well, we had laws back in the day saying if, minorities were out past a certain time, then you could hurt them. The law doesn't necessarily make it right. We're learning that all across the country. There are all, I think, if I remember correctly, and I'm going to mess this all up, but there was some law about, I think it was minorities voting, some big minority law that just got overturned and somewhere in like Mississippi, somewhere in the South, Mississippi, Alabama, somewhere in there. And it wasn't a law that had been like enforced for a long time. Like nobody was enforcing it, but it was still there and they overturned. I mean, like if I remember right, there's a place called Buckner, Missouri, and they still had some real weird laws about minorities and things. That's near where I used to live. And, it wasn't enforced, but it was, known. And so we know that, and just even the legal system. I learned recently with the legal system how messed up it can be. Thank goodness I was with a wonderful judge who I went to federal court. It was not fun. Go check out Katie's Insight if you want to know more and see what happened with me and my former company. I don't really want to talk about it too much, but the federal judges ruled in my favor every time, and they see what's going on. And it opened my eyes a lot because I'd never been through it. So watching him, once again, disseminate information on a topic that I can tell he really doesn't know anything about. And it's a very entitled thing to think, well, I've kept my body thin, so therefore what I do, everybody else should do. Everybody's bodies are different. You're a male. You don't have the same health issues as some people. But then again, I've had other YouTubers. I don't really want to say too much or give too much energy or attention, but I've had some YouTubers who were not very nice in positions of power who made whole videos just mocking and saying that the reason I was overweight is because I eat and I just eat too much and I'm just disgusting, and was really mean about it. And I watched tens of thousands of people cheer that on. And I was like, how do people get behind that? I don't know. But he's also done a lot of defending himself. And that's a lot of defending himself. And here's the conundrum, I think, about somebody like Onion, is that for all the crap and the BS, there's also truth there. There's going to be some truth in what he says. And I'm not saying that because I want that to be true. I'm saying it because when I try to break something down, I'm always going to give you my as honest of an opinion and perception as I can per where I'm at that time. And when I look at a lot of, what he's saying about what transpired, he's right. But it doesn't mean that I think he was right about what he did. He thinks because the law says this, that he can do this. So what he does is he's a master manipulator. It's skirting around the laws. The problem is a lot of the laws don't work. The science about this, and this is one of the reasons that we have more and more laws over time about being able to have child brides or being able to do things like that with younger people when you're older, is because your brain isn't fully formed until you're 25. Those decision-making centers that weighs cause and effect, and the emotional centers, the emotional reactivity centers, those aren't formed. So on top of that, we have a system set up that says, for the most part, you have to go through high school, and once you go through high school, you leave your parents, then you're out in the real world. Before then, it can, before the ages of 18, and even at 18, it can be very difficult to actually get out in the real world because we don't have a system that sets you up for the world that we're in. You don't have a system in high school that says, okay, let's start to build your credit now, so when you get out of here, you can have something built up to get your own apartment. Like, it's crazy how we're just thrown out there and kind of left. We're thrown out in the water and we don't know how to swim, right? And you're taking people like that who know nothing about the real world, and you in a position where you are a fully formed adult, you have power, you have money, you have influence, you are coming in to somebody who doesn't have any of those things and isn't a fully formed person, and you are inflicting your wants on them. And let's be honest, this is not every time, but the majority of the time, when you have any type of imbalance with men trying to get physical in a relationship, please infer, when the physicality comes into play. I'm trying to be really round about, I don't want this to get monetized. There are a lot of men who don't know how to deal with their hormones. And they will do whatever. And we have a society that's basically kind of given permission for men to be manipulative, for men to become the P words, for men to lie, to cheat, to steal, to be able to fulfill some type of momentary hormonal urge, instead of us trying to teach men how to deal with their hormones. I feel like in general in schools, we should have classes to teach people how to deal with their hormones, their emotions, and of course, that would make us fully functioning people. The system couldn't profit off of that, because then we're not in despair and desperation. We're not making bad mistakes. Seems like that's how the system works. But what I really want to, the point I want to drive home is that those behaviors are not okay. And I also heard him lying. The most honest YouTuber. I don't know if he still does that or not, but I also heard him lying, saying, well, when I was in a relationship with this person, they were this age and this age. Like, I think with Sarah, he said 18. I'm like, no, you guys met her when you were 13 and started flirting. That's what the grooming was. It started then. You started laying that base. He gave Billy and Sarah, I don't think it was Ayala, but Billy and Sarah, these promise rings. And for Sarah, it was remember? And Billy threw it, and then she showed her finger to the camera, so to speak. And that's where the grooming part comes from. And you know what's also funny? I see the psychology. If you guys remember with Sarah when she was younger, with Sarah, he was really mean to her. He was like openly mean to her. And I saw that and I was like, that's him laying the groundwork publicly. It's laying the groundwork to be like, see, we didn't even really get along. We had a brother-sister relationship. And I just thought, you're doing that. That to me, it seems like a situation where you are intentionally doing that to act like, see, I couldn't have liked her. When it's kind of like the bully on the playground who's mean and throws you down, and they, because they don't want you to know they like you, when boys can be mean to girls that way. And that's kind of how I saw that. And I just thought, well, if she's so annoying and irritating that you're so mean to her, what would attract you to her? Here's something else. I'm 36 years old, so I'm about the same age as him. I could not imagine in my life being attracted to somebody who's a teenager. I've literally, when I've been around teenagers, and not to put them down, obviously, we're all in our different stages of life, but my thought, when I'm around them, it's just like, there's no, like, they're children to me. They're babies. They're children, right? Even people in their mid-20s, we have nothing in common. There's nothing in common for me to have any type of attraction to build off of at all. Like, these are people who are just starting out in life. It's just, when there's nothing to connect to with life experience in that area, even though it's legal in that area. And I'm just thinking, like, so that's where I look at this and I say, so as most adults, this is how we look at dating younger people. So why do so many men date very much younger women? Very big gaps. Because men, not all men, hashtag not all men, but many men are more driven in their physicality with relationships than they are their emotions. And we also have a system that has been tailored to telling men, get what you want at any cost, especially cost to a woman's life, to a woman's health, to if you create a child in that situation, that child's health, that you're entitled to that. And that's a very big form of entitlement. And it's to be able, and this is the other thing, they also have, first, a lot of men daily, they have to fulfill that physicality instinct. So as a result of fulfilling that instinct, they need to make sure they have a fresh supply of something to fill that with. Much easier to control somebody younger who doesn't know any better, who doesn't understand that. And then you don't have to do a whole lot of work on yourself. It's easy. You can just kind of do what you want, be what you want. And if that is negative to the people around you or negative to the person in the relationship, well, they don't really know any better to know how to be treated. So what he did to those girls is wrong, in my opinion. Him bringing Sarah in and them having a form of guardianship over her, all while stringing her along with the flirtations, totally wrong. Totally wrong. And like I said, I have a little bit of a different perspective, only in that I had, been in group chats. I can't say I knew the girls very well because I didn't, but I had a lot of information other people didn't, and I will always keep certain things. I will always keep the things they've said private that they didn't want out there, because it's not my place. It's not my journey. It's their journey. And I believe what happened to them, especially from watching his own behaviors about the situation. But a lot of these girls he met when they were, 13, 15, 16, and started the process then. But what he's good at, because remember, he was in the military, he's good at skirting around the laws. So here's the problem. The problem with everything that happened with the situation is, as women, we're tired. We're exhausted from a situation. We're exhausted from a system that is broken, that doesn't help us, doesn't keep us safe when it comes to issues like this. There are still places in the United States where they're trying to raise the minimum age above 13 to be able to get married with parental consent. It's crazy. There's still a lot of stuff, guys, around this country that we absolutely have to fix. Not to mention, women's health care is abysmal across the board. So we have a system that doesn't listen to us, tells us we're crazy, likes to do the crazy woman trope on us when they don't see the factors going on. Really seeing that aspect on top of, things like the Me Too movement, I'll tell you, it really opened my eyes to understanding more of minority issues and diving into that. It took me a while because I kind of had that anti-SJW mindset. And here's the thing, I think that there are truths in there, but there's also, you got to see the truth and the crap in something, right? And so I feel like this is something I've been dismantling and learning to say, like, a lot of people, they have a system that's rigged against them much worse than me, and understanding that. But sorry, I'm getting a little bit off topic, but with Onision. So here's the problem, is women were tired. And I think one of the reasons I got popular quickly was because I was a big, unapologetic, angry, unfiltered voice about women's frustration and a lot of people being so concerned with what they saw with Sarah. The problem was back then, and it's still the problem with YouTube, people don't necessarily do things because they care about something. They do it because it's trendy and to get attention. So I got attention for it very big and very quickly, but these topics didn't blow up back then the way they did because not enough YouTubers jumped on it because they don't care about women's issues. A lot of these people don't care about women's issues. They don't care about these issues with children and this and that. And I will say there's been a lot of vindication for me because I just was constantly told, you make too much content on this. It's obsessive. I'm wrong. You don't have evidence. And, I'm really good at reading people and reading between the lines on stuff like this, right? And so there was a lot of vindication there. It was really nice to see a lot of, like, even though I wasn't active at the time of the conversation, Joy was right. People were horrible to her about the amount of videos, but I did make those videos because I cared and I saw what was going on. And we can argue, all day, every day, how many videos I made and what we think about it, but the intention was good, right? Maybe even if the execution failed, the intention was good. So he's really good at knowing the law, skirting around the laws. I came on and people were angry. And and I detailed more of this in the other video. The reason I didn't jump into the conversation again, and I could have grown a big channel fairly quickly, I made a promise to you guys, I'm not coming back until I'm better. And I'm not there yet, but and that's like, I'm so much further, right? I'm having a video and I'm not having a health issue, right? That's so awful, I'm bringing it up. That's wonderful. So I am getting better. And I also knew that because there now was a narrative from certain people on the internet who put out there, you know what? It's okay to bully me. And a lot of that bullying, the biggest criticism, which really is bullying, that came was because of what happened to my weight. People watching me blow up. And I was like, I have to come back looking very dramatically different. And of course doing, having a different way of doing the content for people to understand that there's been a change because we're visual creatures. And not to mention, and that's just not to be disrespectful to you guys watching, like the what y'all saw in such a short time, that is a huge, crazy looking transformation. I'm not saying it's not, okay? but I was sick. I was very sick, and I didn't come back during that time because I said I'm not where I need to be yet. I need to look better. I need to feel better. I need to be better. And I am now, which is great. I'm so grateful for that. But during those conversations, when all of this became very popular, here's the concern. I think as women, there were two concerns. Number one, YouTubers saw it. They saw Chris Hansen's getting involved. They sniffed money. They sniffed attention. They jumped right on, and suddenly they are all for the social justice of women and children, right? In a way that and not to say that some of them didn't necessarily feel that way, but in a way they hadn't been before, right? Now it's justified to make tons and tons of content on this person, where when I did it because it wasn't popular, I'm a horrible person with horrible intentions. It's just the hypocrisy of a lot of YouTubers in the genre and being on YouTube, right? But I think a lot of us as women, we attached a lot of our anger and frustration about the system and how broken it is. We attached that to seeing what was going on with Chris Hansen and the story blowing up. And I think a lot of us put a lot of hope and expectation and emotion into justice will finally be served. The problem is YouTube or YouTubers do what YouTubers always do. And through their own attention seeking and money meddling, they ruined it. They ruined it. First of all, we had Chris Hansen, and I remember when I first heard about him, I thought, didn't he get kicked off his show? And isn't he in a lot of legal trouble for not paying people? And I remember thinking, I was like, I think there's a lot of controversy around this guy. And my first thought was, I think he's coming back because he's failed at television and he thinks this is a medium. I was very excited for Shiloh coming back because Shiloh was a character. I intentionally kept her off my channel because she had tried so hard. I feel for her in the sense, she tried really hard for years to distance herself from him, and he kept bringing her up to the point where she was going to try to start another music career, and she had lawyers call Onion and say, hey, please remove some of these videos. And he filmed himself. There's videos of it somewhere where he filmed himself talking to these lawyers, laughing at these lawyers, saying, not going to do it, screw you. So I think it's kind of I think that she probably got to a point going, for me to have to move on from this, I kind of have to confront it. And I get that, right? But YouTubers do what they do. And the audience as well gets really, really hyper involved. And Chris Hansen came on saying there was an investigation, and it turns out that was a lie. And I was worried that was a lie. I was worried from the get-go that wasn't correct. And that was a lie. And it seems like even the girls themselves were lied to about that. So we were led to believe something was going to happen. But then, of course, because it was such a big topic, here come the YouTubers. And then, of course, once the topic starts drying up, then all the infighting. Who's exploiting who? Well, you're all exploiting everybody by your own logics, So silly. And then there was this huge outburst of just people being horrific to Onion. And I really give Chris Hansen the credit for that aspect. When it comes to Onion, I give him that credit and I give him that credence simply because he showed up at his house. And so many people began trying to fabricate evidence and lie, and it became such a frenzy because there was so much attention around it that what ended up happening is it ended up, in my opinion, victimizing him. You guys ended up being so horrible to him, you made him a victim of what YouTube always does. And the problem is it takes away from what the girls went through. It takes away from the message of what happened. And I know, and I already detailed this in their videos, people can criticize the girls left, right, and center. They shouldn't have GoFundMes. They shouldn't do this. I get it. I hear that. But I also think the girls, I think that they were doing their best to try to navigate the situation. I think they were being led by Shiloh and Chris Hansen. And I say this with love to Shiloh. I don't think Shiloh is the most stable of people for this. Nor, not just that, right? Let's just, even if I'm wrong in that, right? Maybe I am. This is a hard situation to navigate. She hasn't been on the internet in years. The internet's changed a lot, and she just may not have known how to deal with some of this stuff. And I feel like she was kind of leading them maybe in not the greatest path to be able to do this. Because if there was really going to be an investigation, what would have needed to happen is the girls couldn't be on there promoting anything. Because otherwise, in some type of investigation or lawsuit, that could easily be argued against. But again, I think that's where we, the public, we attached all of our own inner wants, of all of our own inner hurts as women to this situation, wanting change. But it's not just because we blindly wanted to do that. It's also because Chris Hansen really pumped people up to believe something was going to happen. So there was just a lot of craziness. So where does my opinion lie on what he did? Here's what I'll tell you what I think. I think that what he did was awful. I think it's wrong what he's done to these girls. The fact that they would, if Billy messed up by smoking, Billy messed up by taking a medicinal herb for anxiety, and that remember they wanted to punish her by chaining her up in the basement and making her shave her head and all these crazy things, and the fact that he had Shiloh shave her head. I think there's a lot of control issues from his physical nature that Onision goes through. And here's kind of ultimately what I think about this. I think it's wrong. Unfortunately, I don't think what any of what he's done is necessarily illegal. And that's the problem. And so I'm afraid I didn't really express that well, that I'm not okay with what he did. I don't like it. But my point is to say, I think he is smart enough because he's been in the military and he has, regardless of what you think about him, there's intelligence there. There has to be to get to where he's gotten to, right? There has to be. Anybody who's done something great or in that kind of position of power that wasn't just giving to them, there has to be intelligence behind how you got there. Doesn't mean they're intelligent all around as a whole. I've got things where I'm very intelligent, and then I also have a lot of things where I'm just completely stupid. I think he's smart enough to not leave a paper trail. Or if there was one, he either had it destroyed or had the people involved destroy it themselves. So I don't think any justice is going to come for that situation. But then again, welcome to being a woman. In being a woman in our society, when let's say a man or something happens where you are have your physical body compromised and violated, please infer, it can be very difficult, if not almost impossible, to actually take any real action towards that. And we live in a society that tells young men it's okay to not have control of your hormones, and that as women, we're lesser citizens and we're made to be objects. I just keep thinking, I'm like, if that's what we go through as women, I feel really bad for minority women because they've really gotten the shaft. My gosh. Again, look at what happened with R. Kelly and the community surrounding that in the minority communities. Like, poor girls. Goodness. So I want you guys to know, I think what happened was wrong. What he's done to these young girls is wrong. And I wish he would at some point open his mind. And here's the thing. I think he won't because he just doesn't want to. Because he probably knows the information at this point. That when it comes to these young women and when it comes to what happened and when it comes to what happens in situations like this, the problem is there's a power imbalance, and he knows that, and he's manipulating that to his advantage to use his controlling physicality in the way that he wants, and that it's very damaging. It's very damaging and detrimental for young girls to go through that. I would hope one day he has the empathy to be open to that and want to see that and want to make some changes and stop using excuses about the law. There's so many things that are legal that are horrible that shouldn't be. So many. So it's not an excuse to say, well, it's not against the law. What that is, though, I think that's part of him being intelligent and not leaving an evidence trail. Let me know what you think. I hope this was a good clarifier for people to understand kind of where I stand in this. I've also been thinking, and I've been back and forth about this, so I want to hear your guys' opinions, making a possible breakdown about, is it called CoolGuyKai? Is it Kai now? Laney or Taylor or whatever the name is now. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I have such memory issues. I'm not going to remember if you're changing your name from, month to month or gender thing. I'm just not going to remember. It's not a disrespect. I really hope that comes across well. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I think I have some interesting psychological perspectives on that from interacting with her, him. I don't know where that falls. So again, no disrespect. And also watching a lot of what's happened and transpired. If you would like to see a video about that, let me know, because I'd be happy to put that out. I want to be careful. This is such a dark topic, and this is a topic that's got a lot of crazy, not y'all, but there's a lot of crazy factions of the internet who watch this topic, and they're not very nice. So this is not a topic I really, unless I saw a reason for it, consistently want to talk about. And again, I feel like I've talked about this in nauseum and repeat, and I proved myself. But I do think there's some interesting things still to examine there. And, I also want to say I don't wish any ill will to Onion's family or to himself or to his wife/husband, whatever that is. I don't. And I also think it's appalling what people have done. I think it's appalling that so many people who kind of used him for clout and views and to get somewhere turned, went right away and just turned on him. I think how people treated him, I know, look, I'm not justifying what he's done, but I think it's horrible where we've gotten to on the internet with it's okay to just destroy somebody's life. I know, because I've been in that place. For that, I have compassion for everything he's had to go through there. I do, and I have sympathy, because he's also, in my opinion, he's a human being. We're all human beings. It's not even my opinion, that's what it is. We're all human beings, and their family deserves respect and deserves privacy, even if he's, kind of been a turd, and even if he's not given that to other people. I don't think, his family should have to go through that. I don't. So I'll never agree with the way people treated it. And I don't know. I hope one day we can become a better society all around for everybody. I guess that's it. So let me know what you think, guys. Let me know in the comments, because I am really curious to hear if you think I should do a follow-up to Kai, or this should be it. Again, I'm trying to figure out what to do with this content, and it's going to be a work in progress, because I'm having a lot of fun. I want to make sure that I do things with the right respect and integrity this time. And my intention was good last time, but I want to, now that I'm physically better and I have been able to process several things, I want to do better and be better, And that's what I want to strive for. So let me know what you guys think. And with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and end the video. If you want to find me, guys, I'm doing financial stimulus news on Katie's Insight. Go subscribe, hit notifications, because when stimulus news does come out in your area or different programs, I want you to be the first people that can get on it before funding runs out. So go do that. And otherwise, if you like this channel, subscribe and hit notifications here. And like the videos and leave comments. That always does help grow the channel. And if you want to share this, I'd be happy for you too. Okay, guys, take care and blessings. I'm going to go do whatever. Figure out what else I'm doing with this channel and work on the other ones. So take care. And until the next video, I'm wishing everybody lots of love, hugs, and kisses. Bye, guys.